Let me guess. You're not broke because you're irresponsible. You're broke because you're doing what everyone around you calls normal. A newer phone, a nicer car, a slightly bigger place, a couple upgrades that don't feel like a big deal until you look up and realize your paycheck is already gone before the month even starts. That's the lifestyle upgrade trap. It's not one stupid purchase, it's a bunch of reasonable ones stacked on top of each other. And the scary part is the trap doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like progress. That's why it works. The store is bright. The salesman smiles. Your friends say, "Congrats." You feel like you're finally catching up. Then the bill shows up, and it shows up every month, forever. Let's start with something you've seen. The lines outside Apple, people camping out, filming it, making it a whole event. And I'm not here to dunk on anyone who likes tech. I like nice stuff too. But what's actually happening there is not a phone purchase. It's a habit. It's a routine. It's a social ritual that says if you don't upgrade, you're falling behind. And that's how people end up paying for a phone, like it's a subscription, because it basically is. Now take that same energy and apply it to the expensive stuff, the car, the house, the lifestyle. This is where people get wrecked. Not because they buy a car, because they buy a payment, not because they buy a home, because they buy a whole identity that comes with it. And once your identity depends on upgrades, you will stay broke no matter what you earn. Add this one idea and the whole thing makes more sense. The phone is the training wheels. It teaches your brain that new is normal. Then you graduate to the expensive stuff and you don't even notice the pattern. You're not upgrading a device anymore. You're upgrading your baseline. And once your baseline moves, it doesn't like moving back. Here's the definition of the upgrade trap in plain English. Your income goes up and your spending expands to match it. You don't feel richer, you just feel busier, more obligations, more bills, more adulting. It's like getting a raise and immediately signing it away, and the US data backs up the vibe people are feeling. US household debt is now hovering around $18.6 to $18.8 trillion according to New York Fed data. Credit card balances alone sit around $1.2 to $1.3 trillion. The Federal Reserve's Household Well-Being Report shows that about 46% of credit card holders carried a balance at least once in the past year. That's almost half of cardholders saying, yeah, sometimes I can't fully pay it off. Translation, a lot of people are living on the edge and upgrades push them right over it. And that's why emergencies turn into credit cards. Not because people are dumb, because their margin is already gone. The upgrade trap doesn't break you when you buy something, it breaks you when life happens, and you have no room to absorb it. Now, let me make it personal, because this is exactly how it gets you. Years ago, I did the classic I deserve it move. I had a decent month, I felt productive, and I convinced myself a bigger car payment was a reward. I told myself it was safer, more reliable, better for my image. Here's what it actually was: a decision that turned my future into a monthly bill. I didn't feel the pain on day one, I felt it every month after. When I wanted to invest, when an unexpected expense showed up, when I needed margin and didn't have it. And the crazy part is, I never thought anything would actually go wrong. In my head, emergencies were things that happened to other people until my car broke down months later. The repair was way more expensive than I expected, and because I had already stretched myself with that payment, I didn't have the cushion. I ended up putting the repair on my credit card and digging myself into debt over a decision I once called a reward. That's the trap. We think about the purchase, not the consequences, not the chain of expenses it can trigger. I thought I was buying something solid, something responsible. What I actually did was take on a liability, not an asset. It wasn't putting money in my pocket. It was taking flexibility away from my future. Money doesn't disappear, you spend it. Let's talk about the car, because this is where the trap is easiest to see. People don't walk into a dealership asking, how much does this car cost? They ask, What can you do on the monthly payment? And that's the moment the game changes. Because if you only shop by monthly payment, you can afford almost anything on paper as long as you're willing to be broke every month. $950 a month doesn't feel like 40 something thousand dollars. It just feels like a couple hundred more than I wanted. That's how the payment trick works. You don't experience the full cost today. You experience it slowly every month while it quietly blocks everything you actually want later. And the car itself isn't the killer, it's the chain reaction. Insurance goes up, registration, maintenance, maybe premium gas. Suddenly that manageable payment is eating your margin from 3 directions. The social pressure is real too. You park next to coworkers, you see who drives what. You don't want to look like you're behind, so you stretch, you finance, you sign, and now a big chunk of your income is committed before you've bought groceries. I'm not judging you, I'm judging the decision. Here's what the smart move usually looks like. And it's boring. You buy a reliable used car, a good semi-new, you keep the payment low or you pay cash if you can. And if you absolutely need financing, you finance the used car with a lower payment that doesn't choke your monthly margin. That margin is everything. Margin is what lets you invest. Margin is what gives you oxygen. Because what people miss is this. The upgrade trap isn't about buying stuff. It's about killing margin. Once your bills eat your margin, you have no room to invest, no room to save, no room to handle life. You're working hard just to stand still. Now, the phone loop. This one is sneaky because it feels small compared to a mortgage, but it trains your brain. It teaches you that new equals better, better equals necessary. You trade in a perfectly working phone because the camera is slightly better, the screen is slightly smoother, the model number is slightly higher, and you tell yourself it's normal because everyone does it. That's the trap. A phone isn't a financial crisis, but the habit of upgrading on schedule, that becomes a financial identity. And it's not just phones, it's subscriptions, streaming, delivery, convenience, spending, a little extra here, a little extra there. Then you look at your bank statement and you're like, how am I making decent money and still broke? You're not broke because you're unlucky. You're broke because your lifestyle has a leak in it and upgrades keep widening the hole. And this is when the trap hits hardest. Not on random Tuesdays. It hits during life transitions. You get a raise, you start a new job, you move, you go through a breakup, you finally feel like you're back on track, and your brain goes, okay, time to upgrade. New phone, new car, new furniture, new everything. That moment feels like growth, but it's usually the moment people lock in the next 5 years of payments. Now let's talk about the mortgage trap, because this is the one that wears a suit and calls itself responsible. People here buy a home and they treat it like a moral achievement. And I'm not anti-home ownership. I'm anti-overbuying because the house is not just the mortgage, it's property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, furniture, landscaping. The we should upgrade the kitchen conversation and suddenly your dream home is a full-time job with a monthly fee. And the worst part is people often upgrade housing right after they get a raise, not because the current place stopped working, but because the new income creates permission. We can afford it now, but can you afford it and still invest? Can you afford it and still build an emergency fund? Can you afford it and still have peace? That's the real question. This is why I like boring budget rules. Not because they're perfect, but because they give you guardrails. A simple version is aim to keep your basics, housing, transportation, food, insurance, around half your take-home pay if you can. Then carve out a chunk for saving and investing. And yes, you can spend on fun. You should. But if your fun is financed, it's not fun. It's a bill. Margin is the whole game. If you protect margin, you get options. If you lose margin, you lose options. That's why two people can make the same money and live in two completely different financial worlds. One has breathing room, the other has payments. And I know someone is thinking, Frank, that's unrealistic. Everything is expensive. I get it. But that's not an excuse to ignore math. It's a reason to protect margin even harder. The data shows a lot of people are doing the opposite. Household saving in the US has been running low. In recent years, the personal saving rate has often hovered in the low single digits, sometimes around 3 to 5%. That means a lot of households don't have much cushion. When savings are thin and debt is high, upgrades become dangerous. Here's the ugly reality. Plenty of people have huge payments eating more than half of their paycheck. Car payment, insurance, rent or mortgage, maybe student loans, maybe credit cards, and what's left? Nothing. No investing, no emergency fund, no breathing room. That's not a lifestyle, that's a treadmill. And this is where I want to give you a mental picture. Imagine your financial life is a simple 3-bucket system. Bucket 1 is survival. Bills, food, housing, transportation. Bucket 2 is future, saving, investing, debt payoff. Bucket 3 is lifestyle, fun, trips, upgrades, nice things. The upgrade trap happens when bucket 3 grows first. Before bucket 2 is solid, you build the top of the pyramid before the base backwards. Here are the two versions of rich you see in real life. One is loud, new car, new phone, nice watch, nice house. The other is quiet, paid off stuff, a boring budget, automatic investing, and a bank account that can handle a bad month without panic. One looks rich, the other is free, and freedom is the point. There's a reason that message hits. In The Millionaire Next Door, the authors Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko talk about how a lot of people who look rich aren't, and a lot of people who are rich don't look it. The whole point is that wealth is what you don't see. It's not the car, it's the absence of a car payment. It's the investments quietly compounding while everyone else is upgrading their lifestyle on schedule. And in the psychology of money, there's an idea that fits perfectly here. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. If you always upgrade when you can, you'll never feel secure. Your income becomes a permission slip to raise your baseline. And you can't out-earn a baseline that keeps climbing. So what does escaping the upgrade trap look like? It's not dramatic. It's not cancel all joy. It's choosing the order on purpose. Do the boring stuff. It works. No hacks, just order. First, cap your fixed payments. Housing and car are the big ones. If your car payment makes you wince, that's a sign. A car shouldn't be your financial identity. Downshifting to a reliable used car can cut stress, free up cash, and buy you options. It's not exciting. That's why it works. Second, add a delay before upgrades. Wait 30 days on anything big, not to punish yourself, but to test whether it's real value or emotional spending. Most must-haves lose their magic with time. If you still want it after a month and it fits your plan, buy it intentionally. Third, pay yourself first, not later, not whatever's left. Automate saving or investing when your paycheck hits, even small amounts. Consistency beats motivation. Fourth, upgrade your investments before you upgrade your life. If you don't have solid retirement contributions or an emergency fund, the new phone or nicer car isn't an upgrade, it's a trap. I'm not anti-nice things, I'm anti-nice things that own you. The goal isn't to look rich, it's to be free, and freedom looks boring at first. It looks like margin. Here's your takeaway for today. Pick one upgrade you were planning: phone, car, subscription bundle, a treat yourself expense that keeps repeating, and delay it. 6 months if you can. In that time, build your margin. Pay down the high interest debt. Start investing something consistently, then revisit the upgrade. You'll make a better decision when you're not doing it to impress anyone. And if you want the next step, click the video on the screen, because in the next one, I'm breaking down the truth about saving $10,000, the part most people ignore. It's not just about discipline, it's about the system you build around your money. Money, no fluff. I'll see you there.